have any concept. I really didn't have any concept about kind of what else is out there. I thought I can just do ACL surgeries all day and do it well and help a lot of people and be happy. But I'd say about 2 to 3 years into practice, and I started with an employer, University of Texas here in Houston. And about 2 to 3 years into practice, really started feeling the effect of the corporate medicine landscape. And I realized quickly that that's not what I signed up for. You know, this was a volume driven, very bureaucratic type of setting, which I felt limited my ability to provide care the way I saw fit. And so that coupled with some of the things Julia said, realizing that you're not really secure if someone else is cutting you a check. And you make that realization and it's like, all right, I've got to at least have some other sources of income coming in. And that, I really took that and realized that I can actually get to the point where I can have so much passive income that I can have better control over what my practice, what my life looked like, and I wanted to start to open up that door, that window to potentially start my own practice and practice on my own terms, like Mickey said. And that's when I started passively investing. The goal was to get to a point where it replaces my physician salary. And at that point, I would have to make a decision. I would have options on the table. I can continue to practice where I was. I could go back to the table and talk to my employers and tell them how I feel about what my practice should look like. And I would have that leverage, right? I wouldn't be fearful of losing my only source of income. And then finally, I can start my own practice. And I'll even add to another one. I cannot practice at all. I don't foresee that for myself, but maybe that's the reality for some people, is to transition away from medicine, and that's valid. There's nothing wrong with that, And so, yeah, I wanted all those options on my table. I didn't want to be limited. And so that's what really got me excited. I have a curious mind in general. That's my personality. So I just started diving into all the educational sources that really, fed my absorption learning style. And so podcasts and audiobooks and, YouTube channels, and really started, making that effort to go out and educate myself, self-educate. And then it got to a point where I started going to social events, meetings, meetups, conferences, and starting to network in the space. And from there on, I was just sold, and now I realize I've always been money averse, but now I realize it's just a tool, just like the scalpel in my hand. It can be a knife used for bad, but it can also do great things, right? And so money is a tool that can be used when used in the right way. It can be a great thing. Wealth can be a great thing. And so that's kind of been my story of why I got into it.
I love that. I love that. I heard, time freedom. I heard freedom to do a lot of things that you want to do, freedom to spend time with your family. Like all of these things just come with multifamily real estate investing in general kind of opens all these doors for you. And we're seeing it, we're learning it, and we're taking action. So Julius, back to you. How do you maintain how do you balance a busy syndication business with a thriving medical practice? How do you manage those two things? What strategies do you have in place? What does that look like?
That's a great question. And I can tell you that the true answer to that is that I'm still a work in progress. But if I was to be as candid as possible, I'd say that the secret for me in particular is having great partners. I have two incredible partners who I absolutely trust. And I mean, then they complement my strengths in the most amazing way possible. We literally operate like three legs of a tripod. And so I depend on them to do what they say they're going to do and hold me accountable when I'm not, living up to the best ideals. And we do that for each other. And that's I think what is at the base of the success we've had so far, is that we all do what we say we're going to do, and we do it well. And we, at the beginning of our partnership, we came up with certain core values, and we consistently, almost on a monthly basis, go over those core values, and we ask, are we living up to the spirit of abundance? Are we being honest and have a lot of integrity? Are we, persevering and persistent? One of our core values is tenacity and persistence. Are we daring to be unique? And so we consistently ask ourselves these questions, and and when we are able to answer yes, 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 then fantastic, we're on the right path. If there's any of those where we have come short, then we essentially try to course correct at that point. But the simple answer to that question is great partners.
Mickey, do you have something else to add?
Sure. In fact, I'm going to add that I think I'm the only one here that's a mom. So add being a mom of 2 young kids to managing a medical practice and running a real estate syndication company. There are definitely challenges. And like Julius, I am super grateful that I am surrounded by wonderful people. And first, my husband is ultra supportive. He's keeping the kids happy right now while I'm here. And I also have a powerhouse of a partner, and I'm truly grateful for Sia. But one of the things we live by are the Titan 3 to thrive. And those are sort of core tenets of how we make sure we're living up to our name. And, in many multifamily circles, the first one for us is the mindset and the body set. We talk a lot in multifamily and in real estate in general about the mindset, making sure you're banishing limiting beliefs and, making sure you're banishing the myths and thinking in terms of abundance. But as a lifestyle cardiologist, I know, because this is stuff I talk to my patients about, is, are you exercising? Are you dieting? And not only do I know the cardiovascular benefits of that, but I've also seen the power of focus that exercise gives you, the power of focus that eating the right foods give you, and the clarity. And clarity is powerful. There are many reasons why people are not successful, but one of the reasons is because they don't have clarity. They don't know where they're going, so they never start the race. So the number one thing for us is the mindset and the body set. We are very careful, both of us, myself and Sia. We exercise, pay attention to our diet, we feed our mindset, pay attention to business coaching, and we learn and grow. The second thing for us is we are very intentional about setting goals and putting structure in place to achieve them. And that's super important. And we recently created a newsletter for our investors about that, because we want our investors to grow with us. So for those who are part of our investor club, that's something that they gain from our group. And the third thing that is super important is going by faith and employing massive action. Execute, execute, execute. And so by doing those 3 things, paying attention to mindset and body set, really setting good goals and having structures in place to achieve that, and executing like crazy, I think that's helped myself and Sia to have been able to grow, even though we're still both busy employees of other businesses.
Oh, that's good. George.
Definitely, again, resonate with both docs here. I would add, I really adopted the mindset of just keeping things simple, trying to minimize all the extra moving parts, because there's, inevitably a lot of moving parts when you own your own business, when you're an entrepreneur. So trying to leverage technologies and systems to simplify your life, simplify everything, from your personal to your business, to the real estate, to the medical, really leaning in on those technologies, whether it be software on a computer or apps that you can use on your phone. I've really, really enjoyed the last 6 months that I've hired a virtual assistant. That has been huge, just in the organization, time management, and execution part, with Julius's advice, actually, I've also gotten an executive coach. And that helps with the whole mindset, you know, and that keeps you with a edge, right? So you never get too dull. You kind of stay sharp, motivated, and excited, because there's ups and downs. And so that, I think, helps manage everything that's going on, you know, from medical to real estate. I would add those things.
If I just may add something real quickly, one of the things that changed the game for us at the beginning was we read this book called Miracle Morning by Al Elrod. Essentially states that you need to do 6 things in the morning. You know, that's like silence, you know, affirmations, visualizations, exercise, reading, and scribing. I don't claim that I do all 6 of them, but I do at least 3 of them for sure. And those 3 are exercise, just to make his point, you know, meditation, you know, if for some people it's, you know, you pray, you know, just silence, you know, being present. It's meditation is not really just, people like always ask me, oh, meditation, are you just breathing? No, you're learning to be present, you know, and that's really what it is. You're learning to like tune everything out and focus. And in this case, if you're focusing on breathing or whatever it is. But what that has done for me is it's allowed me to be present in every moment, even when I'm having conversation with people, even at work, with my patients, with my, you know, people I'm about to do business with. I am completely in that moment. At that point, everything else gets phased out. That's what meditation is done for. And the third thing, obviously, is reading, or in my case, audiobooking on the way into work, and podcasting and things about it. That counts too. So the affirmations and visualizations, then I guess I do that throughout the day somehow. And the one I struggle most with is journaling. I just have problems putting my thoughts to paper, but I'm a work in progress there. But I felt like that was important to share with folks. Like, try to read that book, see if that works for you. There are many other versions of it, but getting into like a routine in the morning that's, you know, jump starts your day, and you'll be amazed how productive you become after that.
So you guys, you heard it. Partnership is important. You heard mindset is key, you know, just like telling yourself that, like, you know, I can do it. Like you really have to change your mindset, because like all of these are at our fingertips. You heard technology is important, and you just learn, get in a routine, like do, you know, set your goals, be purposeful about it, and like take massive action. Like if that's the one thing that you're hearing from these amazing physicians and real estate investors, is take massive action. They decided to do it, and they did it, and they succeeded. We'll pivot a little bit to a kind of different kind of question. So as I've been in the ER for the past few years, I've seen a ton that have negatively impacted me. I've seen nursing shortage. I've seen fluctuations in volume. I've seen my pay structure has changed. My compensation has just like dwindled. Reimbursement has just declined. All negatively impacted me. So I kind of wanted to ask you guys, share your thoughts on how diversifying into real estate has alleviated some of these frustrations that like a lot of us in the medical field are really feeling. How has this opened the door for you? Mickey, let's start with you.
Sure. You know, I, like you and Kim, have been on the receiving end of restructuring of compensation twice. And also in the middle of COVID, while I was working, that happened too. And I also see many of my very qualified partners leaving the organization, being forced to leave, not on their own terms. And so I think it's easy for us as physicians to be complacent, thinking that we've got a secure job and everything's going to be okay. And some of us have made shifts because of those pressures we felt from administrators, et cetera. But whether it's medicine or something else in life, if there's one thing I could share with others, is be prepared. Change will happen. Change is going to happen in medicine. Change is going to happen in government. Change is going to happen in the weather. If you live in Florida, there's going to be a hurricane, you know? So the key is being prepared, realizing that you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You know, there's nothing new there. And so, you know, I think it's actually dangerous to not be diversified. You know, pay attention to what's happening. You know, every time something bad, quote unquote, happens, there's somebody who's actually doing okay. There are people who are smiling because they're untroubled by it. You know, pay attention to the news. Look at what's happening with the banking industry. People who were very liquid, some people lost money recently. And so for me, investing in hard assets, something that's very recession resilient, like multifamily, and knowing that I have another income stream, that gives me peace of mind. So when my CEO comes and says, hey, can you work on a weekend? I can smile and I say, no, thank you. I'm not able to do that because I have options. And I didn't feel empowered to say no before I had options. And so having options is a good thing, but being prepared, knowing that life is going to change and nothing is secure is very important. It helps you to set a good foundation and to really make sure that your family is surviving and thriving.
I like that. George?
Yeah, I think resilience is the word here, you know, and passive income streams just allow you to have a lot more options and withstand a lot more stressors, you know. I think that building those passive income streams gives you options. As physicians in particular, we're faced with certain challenges. We have high debt. We have delayed gratification. I think that's a huge factor. We've put off so long for so much blood, sweat, and tears in our training that we kind of get this expectation of what our life's going to be like. And so it's easy to kind of be tempted to stay with one income source and just kind of rely off that because that's all we've done for the past decade or so. But it really leaves you vulnerable, you know, a false sense of security and not as resilient as you can be to withstand some of these shocks. So I think resilience is really the key word here. And that's how it's helped me. It's helped me have some confidence to go out and try new things, try a private practice, try investing in different asset classes, diversifying within real asset classes. And so I think there's so many positives that come from this cushion that you get from the passive income that it's just a thing that should be at least on the radar for everyone, specifically physicians with our unique challenges that we face with the so-called golden handcuffs.
Julius?
Yeah, for me in particular, this was a game changer. No questions about it. I mean, just 3 years ago, I couldn't confidently just look at my, whoever was coming at me, in the face and say, I could walk if I want to. But there's a different type of confidence you have when you have enough passive income to take care of your basic, all your needs. And you could, it gives you a certain sense of clarity where you just like able to truly do things because it matters, because you really want to do it. I mean, I love replacing hips and knees, so I'm not going to stop doing that anytime soon. But I don't have to do it in the place where I am doing it right now. So there's many other options, right? So and matter of fact, I could sit at home for a couple of months to think and really get proper clarity on where I want to go. And so maybe a year. So but that is the kind of power that real estate really investing in real estate has given me, and that I wish it would give to every doctor. Because can you imagine us as healthcare professionals having the choice to really not think about your pay structure, having to operate your family because of some non-compete and things of that nature, and you could just make a very clear decision about what job you want to work in and who you want to do it with. I mean, the administrators will treat us just differently. And it just so happens I have a lot of administrative friends. One thing I know for sure is they do not respect us as doctors. So I have friends who are like presidents of hospitals. I have friends who are like, in different levels in administrations. They think we're dumb. They think we are easily manipulated. They think they just need to set in that, scarcity mindset, pay your division chief a little more, tell him that, listen, we paying you this to herd the cats, and yeah, they your administrator also runs and herd you guys and get you to well, guess what? That doesn't work for me anymore, because I just look at them and they come and say the things and I tell them what I'm gonna do. And guess what? They're happy enough with my productivity that they're just like, okay, just leave him alone. Let him continue what he's going to do. But the beautiful thing about it is that you need to start working, and the day to start is today. I don't care what it is that you start investing in. Your earned income is not supposed to sit in the bank. Beyond the emergency funds, or and if you want to double that by two, besides by two compared to what is averagely recommended, the 6 months, 3 months, whatever it is, the rest you should be thinking about how to start buying assets or something that's going to appreciate, whatever it is that you have a lot of interest in, be it stocks, be it tangible assets like real estate, be it investing in businesses and buying small businesses and adding significant value to them. Whatever it is, buying franchises of established companies, you got to start thinking outside of the box and start thinking about buying something that is going to start creating passive income for you. And the cool thing about that, particularly with real estate, is the tax benefits are mind-blowing, just unbelievable, and every one of us in this call and this panel have had a nice taste of those tax benefits. And we could go into more details later, but it's incredible. So I'll end that in the interest of time.
Okay.
Hey, I want to quickly add, like Julius just sparked a thought in my head, this whole structure that you kind of fed into when you're employed, and you really show up like as a representative, and the passive income allows you to actually show up in your authenticity more and more in your life, in your job. You can just be who you are and confidently show up as you want to be perceived. You don't have to play a game, and that's a huge burden taken off your shoulders. We have enough burden that we put on our shoulders when we take care of patients to begin with, and we want to do that. We love doing that. Here's one way to take another burden off our shoulders. Why can't we just show up as our true selves at our workplaces or in life in general, right? So I love that. Like, that just made me think of that, Julius, and it's so true. So
I love that. This is a good segue. A lot of people in the audience are new investors, professionals, healthcare professionals. What is some advice that you can give them on how to dip their toes into starting as a passive investor in multifamily real estate syndication? What are just some tips? How do they get started? I would love to kind of hear what you guys have to say. And Mickey, if you want to start.
Sure. The first thing I'd say is start shifting your identity and own it. I think a lot of us struggle with talking about finances at work because, we're following this mold. Physicians are only supposed to have this one monogamous identity, and you can't dip your toe into other ponds. Talk about it. When you keep your plan secret, people can't help you. There are a lot of people around you at your places of work who are doing this, but you haven't spoken to them. Reach out to your network. Start doing your own research. Google is your best friend. Listen to podcasts. Get on newsletters for syndicators who are already in the business. Take a look at what's going on out there and get out there and connect with people. You have to get to conferences if you can. You have to just, get to meetups, but you have to be comfortable with putting yourself out there and telling the universe what you want, and it will give it to you.
Julius?
Yeah, not everybody wants to be an active investor. So some people just love being passive, and they love to just say, you know what? I want to identify a group of folks that are active. I want to just invest and make some passive income that way. That's one way to do it too. That's the way I started, and I eventually segued into active, but I think that's completely acceptable. And you could still benefit significantly that way. But if you are trying to go active, I think what Miki said just struck a chord with me, because one of the biggest struggles I had when I started actively investing and we started Excite Capital was the fact that I was worried that people weren't going to take me seriously as an orthopedic surgeon anymore. Um, and I remember posting about like our first deal where we were co-general partnering on one of our orthopedic surgery, WhatsApp groups. And a lot of people kind of responded like, what's going on? Like, is everything okay with your job? Or like, why are you going into real estate? And interestingly, one of the few people that really encouraged me back then was George. George, do you remember this?
Absolutely,
And
man.
I was just like, wait, George, how do you know so much about this stuff? He already knew so much about multifamily syndications, and I was just like, oh yeah, this is awesome. At least one person, doesn't think I'm crazy. But what I've learned over time is that people actually respect you more when you were able to strike out and push and do something that everybody really wants to try to do, but everybody's scared to do it. Right? That people think you're brave. People think you're actually that you are charting that path that's less trodden. So I would say just the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. So just take that first step. That first step could be getting a book, reading a little more. A book that I usually suggest to people who are thinking about going into syndication is Wheelbarrow Profit, Gino Stanziano, and Gino Barbaro and Jake Stanziano. They wrote it together. It's a good book, nice and easy read. And you can kind of get a sense of how this works, right? And then you could check out the Bigger Pockets podcast. There's a whole bunch of resources there. There are a whole bunch of other podcasts. Just type in multifamily real estate on Apple Podcasts. It's going to bring up like 1,000 podcasts for you to check out. And so, yeah, I would say take that first step today. Start learning every day, maybe 30 minutes. Just read something about an asset class, in this case, multifamily real estate, that you want to learn about. And you'll be surprised how much you know. And by the end of the first year, you would start speaking the lingo, you would start engaging. All of a sudden, now you're well educated in it. You could evaluate a deal appropriately, and then you could decide, okay, this deal is for me, this deal isn't for me. Or you could, start thinking about, okay, who do I want to partner with to maybe do my first deal, learn from them a little bit before forging out on my own. So those are some of the steps, I think. But and if you guys want to reach out outside of this to any one of us on the panel, I'm sure we'll all be more than happy to share our path and see if there's something there that you can latch onto. Thank you.
Absolutely. George.
Yep, these guys nailed it. On my website, I have a quote that say, be curious and be social. And they really captured that in some of their advice. I think having that open mindset and getting out of your physician brain, we're risk averse. And in this line of work, or in this space, investing space, you actually have to start taking calculated risk, not recklessness, but just calculated risks. And how do you take calculated risk? It's just like learning as much information that you can to make an informed decision, right? And so being curious helps you kind of go back to these resources again and again and start building your vocabulary, like in your lingo, like Julia said. You start rubbing shoulders with other people in the space. That allows you to kind of start getting a radar for who's legit and who's not, who's really has substance, and who's just a predator, because they're out there too. And so this space is not without risk, but this is life, right? There's no space without risk. So you don't want to hide from that, because that'll make you less able to tell when something's legit or not. You want to be in that space so you get your radar gets sharper and sharper. And then I want to just add one more thing. I think the number one thing to start with is you need time. And as physicians, especially in the corporate model, our time is just being sucked away. Our energy is being sucked away. So try to figure out ways. A good first step is to figure out ways to free up your time. The time freedom is the first thing to come. All the other freedoms come after that. You know, you have time to work out, time to read, time to, cultivate your relationships with your friends and family. So figure out creative ways, leverage technology, leverage different resources on how to increase your time throughout the day. We all get the same 24 hours. So that was one of the biggest things for me, is just, getting to sleep earlier so I can wake up with more energy and have more time in the day for the things that I want to do, time and energy in the day for the things that I want to do. Getting through my workday faster so that I can have time to get to the meetup in the evening. You know what I mean? So really, really focus on ways to free up your time is what I would recommend.
I love
The
this.
biggest way is to cut out TV, Netflix. And
Yes.
it's easy, or social media. It's like almost everybody spends at least 1 to 2 hours in tiny little times, like tiny little moments throughout the day, either scrolling through the phone or watching a TV. So just be cognizant of that and just cut it out. Yeah. So can't
I'll
remember last time I watched TV.
I don't even own one.
No.
I haven't owned one for 5 years.
I want to share something that Mickey said that I thought was really important, which was like, put yourself out there and talk about it. I was afraid, like Julia said, to talk about this at work because, I felt like I was an expert in emergency medicine, but I was like, can I talk about this? And one day at work, I was just talking about what I was doing. And I got a text from a colleague who said, hey, as soon as you get a deal, I'm interested. And that was because I was just bold. And I was talking about what I was doing. I was talking about how to diversify wealth. And so like, I agree with that. Like, don't be shy, just talk about it. Like, and it's also, there's a big thing with what Julia said, which was like, change your mindset. Like, yes, we are physicians, and yes, we are also real estate investors, and we can bring a different, like, a different scope into it that like not a lot of people can. So like, that was really good. Let's transition a little bit. I'm very cognizant of the time, and there's some questions in the chat, but what are some key factors? So we've talked about mindset, now kind of some real things. What are some key factors that you guys consider when you're evaluating a potential multifamily deal? So like where, like what are the questions that your investors would ask you? How are you picking a good deal? Julius, let's start with you.
That's a fantastic one. Actually, George and Miki probably would kill this. So I'm glad you called me first. And I would try not to take all that and give all the answers so that they could say some things. But I think location, most important, right? One of the few things that we look at very carefully at Excite Capital is we ask ourselves, is there significant population growth in this area? And is there going to be continued population growth moving forward? Because that's the key. If the population growth is topped out and now the population is about to start declining, that's not when you want to go in, right? So you want to be forward looking. Second is, are there a diversity of employers in this particular area? Meaning, if all the population, if it's growing, but it's because of just one company that goes there, maybe Facebook or Google or whatever it is, the day that company goes under, then you're done. Then you lose a big portion of your tenant base. So you got to be careful to make sure you have a diversity of employers in the market. Another is the median household income. We are looking at that and saying, wait, is there increasing median household income in this particular market? And is that income going to be able to support the business plan that we have for that particular building, right? So you want to see markets with increasing population growth, market with increasing median household income with the diversity of employer, and very importantly, increasing rent growth, right? Because if you are in a market where rents are like already maxed out, then the whole idea of business is to increase revenue, decrease expenses, increase your net operating income. It's a very simple math. If there's no way to increase your revenue and you are not able to decrease your expenses significantly, then you out of luck. So I'll let George and Mickey kind of finish up.
Or do you have anything to add? He kind of killed it.
Nailed it. And since I anticipate there are a lot of potential or current passive investors listening, I would say, as someone who's invested in 25 deals passively, I look at the operators as well. I look at who's the jockey on the horse, what's their experience, what's their track record, what's their reputation, have they had any adversities and what did they learn from it? Not just, did they hit home runs? That actually would be a red flag for me if I heard that, I would definitely want to know that they can go through tough times, because that very next deal might be the first one that they struggled through. And so it's super important to learn who the operator is, not only just there may be a lead operator who's kind of like the face of the syndication group that you're investing with, but I also want to know who the team is. I want to know their longevity with the team. When I see Julius with Leslie and Tenny for every deal, I'm like, yeah, like they know each other. They have synergy enough to the point where they're working together over and over again. And so I think looking at the operator is crucial for passive investors.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to echo some of those sentiments. I think, that book that Julius mentioned, Will Borrow Profits, it talks about the three-pronged approach to multifamily, with the sponsor being the number one thing. And for Titan Court Capital, when we look at deals, the last thing we look at is the actual deal. For investors who are passively investing, I would encourage you to look at the sponsorship group first. And I echo all of what George says. That stands above all, because it doesn't matter if you're in a great city with a great deal, the operator and their integrity matters. And that's why we hold ourselves to the highest level of integrity at Titan Court Capital. We always put our investors first always. So look at the sponsorship group. And then strategically, we look at the geographic area, and Julius hit a lot of the high points. One of the other things that we look at is the rent share of wallet income. So at Titan Court Capital, our major markets are Dallas and Atlanta, which happen to be the number one and number two markets in the United States today, by the way. But there's a good reason we do that. There's the economic diversity, there's a large population, all of that. But these are also cities where people can afford rent. I'm not necessarily looking to buy in Miami because people are already spending almost 40% of their income on the rent. So there's not much opportunity there. But in places like Dallas and Atlanta, there's room for growth. People can afford rent. So that's another thing that we look at. And then lastly, we look at the deal, and we get very granular with that, because even though we might be buying in a good city, we look at the submarket, we look at the street, how many pawn shops are nearby. We pull police records. We do a really aggressive due diligence to make sure that we are very conservative in our assumptions and plan for the worst, knowing that economic times can change, but really employ very conservative models such that we feel very confident that we can hit our pro forma numbers.
Okay. Well, that was really, really good answers. Kind of sums it all up. I'm going to switch over a little bit to the question and answer section, because some questions came in and I really want to respect everyone's time. So Donald asked, and I could just pick one person to answer, but Donald asked, how did you overcome the learning curve of commercial real estate, including underwriting, commercial real estate jargon, IRR, etc.? Like, Mickey, can you help answer that question?
Absolutely. Thank you, Donald, for your question. And the first thing I want to do is congratulate you for being here. This is an important step. You showed up. You're playing all out. So give yourself a pat on the back for that. The second thing I want to let you know is that every single one of us on this panel sat where you're sitting at some point in the past. We all stared with glossy eyes thinking, what on earth are they talking about? Am I ever going to get to the point where I'm comfortable with this stuff? And so, Donald, if you could memorize the coagulation cascade, you can learn to understand multifamily deals. Okay. And so, believe that, take massive action, read, invest in your own success, treat it like a priority, recognize the risk you are taking if you sit and do nothing.
That was good. Thank you, Mickey.
Just to add,
Go ahead.
Just to add really quickly to that, there are like I think Joe Fiala's syndication school or something like that asks like if you just type in syndication school, is it syndication university? Or, I can't remember, but anyways, they have like a website with all of the terms in multifamily and their definitions. That's one. Second, for underwriting, I don't want to necessarily plug any of our events, but we have a free every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. underwriting class with a syllabus where we invite anyone that's interested to come in, just learn how to underwrite, understand exactly what all the numbers mean. So you don't ever have to invest with us. Just, you could come in, learn, and go invest there anywhere else. But it's just our service to folks who want to learn this stuff. So if you're interested, let us know. Get the information from Dr. Ezia Mama, and we'll take it from there.
I just want to tell you that I have massively learned a ton from the Tuesday underwriting class, so I can like attest to it.
It's all good.
Yeah, I wanted to quickly also add kind of a plug for the group that my ecosystem, the real estate guys, they are, in my opinion, like the Bigger Pockets group, where they explain it to a beginner. They explain things it's such that a beginner can absorb, they can start learning the vocabulary and the lingo. The other thing that they really do is they incorporate the macro picture. They look at everything from a high level and how that relates to investing thesis and strategy and things like that. So all the while still educating at the beginner level. So I think it's important to kind of have that in parallel, kind of what's the bigger picture behind everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Daisy asked, Dee Dee's question was already answered. Daisy asked, how much do you need to start? And comparing being a financial agent or broker and being a real estate investor, which is more beneficial, which is more rewarding and money making as a physician? Julius, you want to try that one?
Well, the only thing I'm licensed to do is to replace hips and knees. So I don't know much about being a financial agent or broker, so I wouldn't recommend any of that because I just don't know. The only other thing that I claim to be is a real estate investor, but that doesn't require a license. It just requires educating yourself, just like we've been talking about, and starting to identify as it and start actually taking the steps towards investing. So and how much do you need to start? Most syndications, the minimum investments is usually about $50,000. But sometimes, a lot of operators would make an exception for you if you're starting out and take 25K from you. That's the least that we've taken from anyone. But I'm sure there are also some syndications where people take smaller amounts. But for the most part, it's usually about $50,000 is the minimum. And so that would be my quick answer to that.
Irish Kevin asked a question, last question for Julius. How many knee replacements do you have to do to equal the income from a cash flowing at 8%, 250 unit Class B multifamily in a Class B location at a 5 cap? Average rent is $1,500, 100% occupied with no bad tenants. Take that one away.
Wait, who is this guy? I appreciate you, Irish Kevin. I really appreciate you. I'm gonna need a calculator for that. I mean, I don't know, but that looks from a cash flow at 8%. That looks like good, pretty good right there. But anyways, I'm gonna have to sit down and do that calculation. I'm not that smart. I'm pretty good at replacing people's hips and knees, but I can't do this offhand.
The great thing is it's passive, so you can replace hips while you collect the
That's
True.
You know what? You're
True.
quicker on your feet than I am. Yeah, because it's completely passive. It's coming in even when I'm brushing my teeth.
So this wraps kind of everything up. I wanted to just put it out there. How can people get in touch with you?
Excitecapital.com. I'm on IG, I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably the only place where I'm really active, or pseudo active. And excitecapital.com is XSITE capital.com. Thank you.
I'll put everything in the chat, but I just wanted you guys to shout it out. Go ahead, George.
So timehealthcapital.com is my website. You can email me at george@timehealthcapital.com. I'm on all the social media platforms, but I'm most active on LinkedIn. And then for any of my local Houston folks or even other cities in Texas, I host a in-person meeting, an investor club meeting every month, and a bi-weekly webinar with my partner, who is also a physician investor out in Arkansas, Dr. Breathe Easy out of Biofasania. And we do that weekly every month.
Mickey.
You can go to our website, which is titancorecapital.com. That's TITANCOR capital.com. If you're so inclined, you can feel free to join our investor club, which you can do through our website. We have a ton of content that we send out to our investors. There's a reason our investors invest with us over and over again. We actively participate in their learning. And even if you don't invest with us, this is free, free education for you. So I encourage you to do that. You can always email me as well at info@titancorecapital.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn, and I look forward to sharing more with you.
And website is phcinvest.com, and you can contact me at inchem@phcinvest. But I also just put a Calendly link. I'd love to meet and talk to you over Zoom, over the phone, whatever way would be easiest, but just kind of to start and build a relationship. So 7:05, I tried to state as much close to the time, but I see the benefit of this. And we're going to jumpstart this to become a monthly webinar. And really the goal is just to educate, passive investors on how to grow your wealth, like how to start. One of the questions is, what do I do? And this could be one of the mediums. So I just really want to take a second and thank our physicians here who took the time to come and bless us with knowledge. I hope that every single one of you learned something new, something interesting, but more than anything, I hope that you're going to take massive action come 7:07 p.m. To our audience, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for coming. I really, really appreciate taking your time out of your busy evening to just come hang out with us. And it was really, really nice meeting every single one of you. So I will end this. Drop all your socials, please. I like to stay connected. So Chelsea, you have their names and you can just look them up. LinkedIn is, I think, where a lot of us are really active, but you can also find us on Instagram as well as Facebook. So I put in the chat, I put all our names, our contact information, our website. And so you can start that way and go from there. But if no one has any other questions, this is going to be the end. I just wanted to wrap it up and say once again, thank you so much. And it was really nice meeting everyone.
Awesome program. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. Have a great night.
You as well.